Yeah, we go. You already
Hey, I got your message.
Good morning.
I need to get back. Yeah.
I'll call it in, cool it down a little bit.
Yes, sir. I'm good. Sitting in my chair.
I'm ready, we can start. I have 12 o'clock, we've got a duly posted meeting and a quorum, so we'll go ahead and call this meeting of the Public Facility Corporation of the Harris County Department of Education Board of School Trustees to order. This is just a workshop, there will be no action taken today, and what we have on the agenda is discussion of the Harris County Department of Education Public Facilities Corporation Lease Revenue Bonds, Series 2016, including discussion of structuring matters, receipt of bids, market update, and any other item pertinent to PFC.
Go over the members of the PFC and who's not present.
Yes. The PFC board is consisted of Angie Chestnut, Lewis Evans, Mr. Marvin Morris, Dr. Jesus Amesqua, Mr. Colbert, and myself.
Hey.
At this time, I would like to turn it over to Mr. Marvin Heaps.
Sure, and I'm not sure if we had this structured in a particular way. Lewis was here with USEA Capital Advisors, who is the corporation's financial advisor, who's going to go over the market bids. I'm Marcus Dietz with Orrick Harrington Sutcliffe, and I'm the corporation's bond counsel. And I was going to go over kind of the structure of the PFC, what its powers are and duties. And so in whatever order you want to take that, if you'd like to hear the market bids first, we can do that, or I can go over the structure of the PFC. It's up to the board's pleasure.
Why don't we go ahead with the structure and then we'll hear the market.
Sure, so
okay.
just as a little by way of history, so the Public Facilities Corporation was created in 1999 for the sole purpose of issuing debt on behalf of the department. The reason it was created was really twofold. First, the department in its own right isn't allowed to issue long-term capital debt for capital projects. The way the law is set up, they have to actually issue the debt through a public facilities corporation, and that's because the department only has the ability to tax for maintenance tax purposes. A normal school district, something that the department is not a typical school district, would have a bond election if they wanted to do a capital project, and then issue interest in sinking fund taxes. The department, on the other hand, had an election for maintenance tax purposes, and so it's authorized to issue, to levy that tax, and through that tax, they are allowed to issue debt through a public facilities corporation. So that's the first reason. The department's really not allowed to issue debt in its own right. The second reason the corporation is around is to manage the programs for the debt that it issues. And so on an ongoing basis, does the daily issuance of contracts and day-to-day decisions that allow the capital improvement programs to function. And honestly, that's it in a nutshell. It's not that complicated a structure, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have about what it does or the powers or duties or anything else.
And Marcus, you're going to be going through this at the regular board meeting as well.
That's right. That's right. You'll hear this again.
Yeah.
There's for the general board, and I'll also open it up at that time to questions from the board as well.
So how are the board members picked?
They are at the pleasure of the board of the department.
Don, we elected Lewis to this board last year. We voted on it.
Yeah, I know that.
And so it is an on behalf of organization. It operates at the pleasure of the department.
I have a question. This is my first PFC I've been a part of, but I understand this is a common practice among school districts, especially larger ones.
Yeah, so in fact, the transaction that we're doing right now, nothing in law, we all base everything on precedent. And so the precedential transaction that we're basing this transaction on is not only the prior transactions the PFC has done, but more recently, HCDE did a large PFC bond issuance in late 2015. And so kind of when we're looking at the the most recent, latest and greatest, that's the transaction that we're looking at as we prepare the documentation for the transaction.
Hopefully, this one's gonna work better than that.
Of course it will.
One, it'll be
We're gonna
much
be the
smaller.
So yeah, it's fairly common, especially for larger school districts, but I've seen small school districts do it as
Yeah,
well, it just depends on.
Well, it affords the ability to be a little bit more agile, so you don't have to have a bunch of special call board meetings, I would assume.
Absolutely, absolutely. The board-
The nimbleness
Yeah.
of this board versus your regular board meeting.
Yeah, especially if you've got multiple schools or you've got a number of projects going on sometimes.
That's right, that's right.
I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Any further questions of Marcus on the structure and function? Okay,
So,
hearing none.
clarification,
Yes, sir.
voting members,
Voting members are yourself, Dr. Mesqua, Mr. Evans, Ms. Chestnut, Mr. Morris, and myself.
so it's one of those few opportunities I get to raise my hand. That's stated for the record.
But basically, we all serve at the pleasure of the Board of Trustees.
That's right.
All right, Mr. Wilks.
Let's go through the bids. This packet, no, well,
Not at this time until we issued on August the 30th, because right now we still have not notified and still have not provided confirmation. So we're subject to the Board of,
until we get the written award,
Right.
which is contemplated on the 30th.
So there's nothing here that would compromise our ability to be able to purchase and close on a specific rate or price or anything like that? Because we have been discussing some of these items in closed session, you know, to be able to be confidential to some extent and make sure that we don't compromise.
I think you asked the bank, they said it's confidential.
I think until they get the written award, they would not want their bid shot.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So,
So we're not going to deal with that today.
no.
You need an agenda?
and probably the others as well.
Did they give you one of
Yeah.
this?
No.
You can give me.
Well, and if something happened to the original bank,
sorry.
we would fall back to the cover bid. I don't expect that to happen, but.
Because we've had several bids out there, right? So-
Right. And what I wanted to mention before you go into your presentation is that once the bonds are issued, then we appropriate those funds for the repayment of those bonds through our normal budgeting process. And then we'll get to more into detail the notion of double appropriation and some of the guarantee as far as the bonds itself.
But if,
So my understanding is that the bank would not want this information let out, and that it would rather that the bank, according to Marcus, the bank would prefer that this be kept confidential. And typically, when we do a competition, a competitive procurement solicitation, whether it's for this reason or another reason, the bids are confidential until a contract is awarded.
and that would happen on the 30th.
And that won't happen until the 30th. So for that reason, I think, it needs to remain confidential.
So we would need to go basically into closed session.
Well, we don't need to go into closed session because this technically isn't a meeting under the Open Meetings Act because there's not a quorum of the board. So I would just ask for any members of the public to please excuse themselves.